Hi, Ian.
Hey, hey. Man, that cab was a pain. Big, heavy chunk. Look, it's where it's supposed to be. It actually fell yesterday and hit the engine. Thankfully, nothing happened.
Oh, no.
So I got it braced up. It's still pretty sketchy, but it's basically where it needs to be. Look how much far forward it had to come. Once I got the nose on, it's interesting. The door hinge is almost at the spindle, which is really far forward from where I thought it was going to go. But I did a quick mock-up about 50 times with the fenders. It's about where it needs to be. So I'm going to make a truss, a big shape to support the cab like this. I don't know if it's going to get out the doors. Definitely not without the tires. We've been down this road before. I'll figure it out. But I'm going to mount the cab in here because it's at least not so breezy. I got the door shut on one side so we can weld. I'll explain what we're up to. I started cutting a few of these pieces of material. It's that heavy wall, 1.5 inch square tube, and that's what I'm going to make the body mounts out of. Typical cab of a truck, especially international, in the rear below the seats, there's a very small body mount that's actually spring loaded, so it can hop up and down a little bit with bumps. I'm going to reuse that. Not really going to catch it on the camera because it's upside down. But yeah, hopefully you've seen a pickup truck upside down at least once in your life. See these little spring dealies? So this rubber mount is the pad under the truck, and then should you hit big bumps, it has a little bit of give, so it doesn't, I guess, break the body to pieces. So yeah, I'm going to make a cross member that there's 2 of these little bumpers on the bottom, and then it just bolts to the truck. But you can see we got quite a distance between the chassis and the cab. It's in the stock truck, this cross member here, because the cab had hinges, this was the latch. We're not using that anymore, but those 2 mounts go right underneath here. So that means the cab is approximately 18 inches higher than it was in its stock form. So there's a hole under here where that rubber mount meets. So I just pulled the tape down to the chassis, and it measures 25 to the corner on each side, so it's centered. Greg, when he delivered this chassis, mentioned, hey, if you're doing some structural stuff, don't weld to this outer plate. I'm not sure why. Maybe it's some kind of tension steel like you'll see on a semi-truck. He said that's why they bolted this. So I'm going to make these to bolt on. It's going to pin straight through the bolt later. But what I did was took this TIG welding rod. This makes a really good template for angles on a lot of things. It's just aluminum, but they're straight. So put my finger in the hole where I want that bar to land, and I'm coming down right here to the plate. I'm just going to bend it right there. See how easy I did that? You know why? Because I already made one. That's how I started making those pieces. Look at that. Does that angle not match?
Looks like it matches.
So then this one is going to come down around the corner like that. So basically I want 2 pieces of steel side to side with this angle in it. Big triangle. It'd be very strong.
I dig.
All right, let's go to the bench, shall we? Just trying to streamline this so we don't just spend all of our time talking about ideas and opinions. I already cut this one so you could see. Boom, that's our angle. Right? So I'm going to cut this one. We got 1, we're going to have 2, and then a cross member. So basically it'll be a triangle with a bar across the top to grab those 2 mounts.
Ah.
I'll put on your gear. Coming in.
Kind of like shooting with sparks.
So we got 2 matching units. And now I'm going to measure the marks I made on the back of that truck where these land. Basically, we're coming with this angle to here, to this angle here, and there's a flat span across the top. So I'm going to make a quick measurement over here. All right, so measuring the truck, we got 44 to the outside of these legs. That's where we're at right here. And then we got 10.5 on the outside of these. So it's gonna be somewhere like that. Right. So we got 44. We got, oops. Ten and a half. And still 44. I like it. So double checking everything. Want to be sure that I'm square. So I'm using this table, the sheet in the table. I always use this because the sheets were cut square. So that's a good square line on the center. Put a quick mark across here. Marker that actually
I would
writes.
say, did that marker even leave a mark?
Welcome to the desert. So I got these butted up against the edge of the table. Just gonna make a couple reference points here to ensure. Yeah, see, this one's got to come down. I'm just looking across here. As long as this comes, that's a 90 degree from the table edge. Cool. So yeah, that's cool. Close enough. So this is going to sit just inside here, like so. So I'm just going to make a quick reference from there to there. I'm just going to cut that. From there to there should be this angle. We're here. We're there. Oh, look, it's that angle. Yeah. Cool. And I'm going to cut it just a little bit inside of these marks because material this heavy, a little root gap is good.
What does root gap mean?
Root gap.
Isn't that what you said?
Yes. So when you're fitting up 2 pieces of steel, especially structural stuff, you'll leave a space between them. That, for whatever reason, they've called it a root gap. So you'll do a root weld on heavy material where you weld all the way inside and continue with multiple pass welding.
Ah,
So the root gap
thank you.
is the space between. That'll work. Dress this up a little bit on the belt sander. All right, so this may be a little bit off from the actual truck, so I'm just going to put 2 tack welds on the inside and then fit it up. Again, heavy steel, big old weld. All right. Let's go set this on the vehicle, see what we're working with. Not too shabby. It's almost like this guy knows what he's doing.
Get to fabbing, Ian.
Look at that.
Wow.
First try. All right. Cool. I like that. Just center this up. Look at it from the back. Yeah, it looks centered to me. I'll take it. Yeah. That looks nice and square. All right, I'm gonna get a measuring tape, and there's 2 holes in the chassis. I always try to measure off things that exist. So these 2 holes seem to be in the same spot. So I measure out of that hole to my bracket. Tape measure in the hole. And I got 20, I'm gonna make it 21 even. It's an easy number to remember. 21. And I'm gonna favor this angle iron a little bit so I could put the drill hole through that. Have plenty of room for the bolt to go through. I'm gonna try to make this whole body mount in one piece, ultimately that just bolts in. So yeah, we got 21. And same thing with this. I'll slide this back there. Tape in the hole. 21, right? That should be 21. Right there, 21 and 21. Okay, cool. Weld it. So I'm going to tack all over this thing. It won't be completely welded, but it'll be strong enough for use, as we got a pretty good wind blowing in this door, and hopefully it's going to be okay. I'll try to shield it a little bit. Let me turn up that shielding gas a little bit. If you get any oxygen in the weld, it's a bad weld, so that's kind of the dance here, especially if you're working outside. Oh no, I'm just gonna put this right in here. So you might not see much, but I'll be able to make a weld that counts. That'll work. So remember I mentioned root gap?
Yeah.
So see, I welded vertically all the way up, and now I'm putting a cover pass. So that essentially was the root weld. Now I'm going over it. So I welded up and filled the gap, and then I came back over the top and did a cover pass. So the weld's a little bit tall, but that's very strong. I'm gonna hit this while I'm down here. Back to the other side. Same thing here. I'm gonna do vertical, or not vertical, but 45-degree-ish, welding up, and then come back with a cover. Hear how it's inside the material? Because I'm welding it shut, welding the root gap. Now I'll just do a cover, coming back down. Again, it makes the welds a little bit bulky, but that's a very hot weld. I mean, for under the truck, not super pretty, super strong. So yeah, on a bench, you can weld really nice. But if you're going fast upside down in the wind like that, just make it happen. It's gonna hold.
Upside down with the wind.
Well, like in welding school, you did all these welding position tests. You would have to weld overhead like this, around tubes, all kinds of stuff with stick welding. So I got certified in a lot of different ones. I don't even remember. It's like 4G. There's all these different terms for welding positions, and then they test them. They destructive test your welds. They stress them until they break. Sometimes they cut them in half. They'll X-ray them.
Really?
Yeah, they X-ray the welds to see if there's any like porosity, if there's any inclusions, like a piece of the flux that's on the welding rod. It goes on. Oh.
I believe it.
So okay, we got that rear perch. I call that cab there. I got to get under, do a bunch more welding, but that'll hold for now. We'll move on to the front. You guys should just try to tack in here. It's gonna be kind of a reach, but just see if I can get at least a little something. Yeah, no, I can't. It'll hold. All right, well, that's it for now. It's kind of how it is. In a perfect world, the giant machine would pick this thing up and I'd weld and then drop it back down, but giant machine has yet to present itself. Moving onward, the front engine mounts, excuse me, the front motor mounts, the front motor mount perches are very strong, so I'm going to use those in another bolt-on capacity with these plates.
Ooh.
Heavy, it's 3/16. Grab my milk crate. This is where those motor mount plates mount. I'm just going to use the center hole on those and land this right there so that this mount will unbolt in the future. This is going to be a square mount. The other one's triangle. This one's going to be more of a square, maybe with an X in it to really support it. Put one on each side. Like so. Now I'm going to put a crossbar, steel, the big 1.5, same thing, straight across here. Let's go to the measuring tape. Again, I'm going to use the welding rod for the angle, but I'm basically going from the top of this, right where that little roundness starts, we got 20.5. So I'm going to clip this 21. Oops. 21-ish. I'm going to give it a little bend, because what do we want? We want like that. Back. Come from that hole to that hole. Open it up a little bit. So you see, I'm just going to adjust this a little bit so that we get that angle of cut, just like the other one. A little bit more open right there. Cool. So we want our bar that big with that angle on each end. Wow. Coincidentally, that's the exact angle that we just made. Look at that.
Cool.
So good news. But this piece is a little bit short, so you have to go for the big one. All right, I'm going to transfer this angle to this material like this. Again, I like using the corded grinder when I got the huge cutting discs on it. It's just a little more torquey. They all work good. It's just this one's got the power. So as I was saying, you want it this long. With this angle. I know I'm going to weld some vertical posts to this. I'm just going to clean this top rust off. Later, the whole thing will come apart. That's why I'm making it unbolt. Probably get gold plated or something. You know,
Gold plated.
no expense there. I mean, that's the desert for you. Stuff only really surface rusts out here. It gets a really nice color, but it doesn't rot. Back to the truck. Yeah, cool. I like it. So my idea being with those holes being ovaled, this is going to get welded right to the bolts. They'll be captive. And then it'll just lift right out. Do a little notch for those bolts, and we're good. All right. Yeah, that's right where it should. Cool. Yeah. Make it even like such. Yeah, cool. Pop a weld on that. I'm setting this up kind of in a generic way because the cab may rise up a little, it may drop a little. The primary thing is with the suspension all the way in as low as it can go, like that's ultimate bump stop right there. I wanted the doors to swing. So that's why it ended up here. But I don't really want to lower the cab, but if I have to get in, I got a little room. I could even modify it up to this hinge a bit, you know. I could cut the door open like that, should I need to lower it. But either way, we got to make some steel body mounts, and that's what I'm trying to do. Not go backwards too much. Like with that other project, that transmission, the torsion bar. That's all good. Similar to the rear, the front has holes, 4 on each side. So these fingers, hold on, let me get that right. These fingers are that's a little tight. There we go. These fingers are in the body mount holes. So I think I'm going to make a cross member that comes across here. I'm going to knock off that little thing. I think it's a return spring holder for something. But I'm envisioning crossed, post straight down, and then 1 or 2 going up straight to the back. So it's like a whole saddle that goes on top. This is rearward of the cross member, so I may have to shoot these 2 lines back first, bolt them up, and then vertical down. Let's discuss. So from that rear cross member to the front here is 41. And I don't really need 2 going rearward because it doesn't touch anything. It's more just a spacer for this. Maybe I'll just do 1. Do like a T. Just thinking out loud here. Anything can happen. Just a matter of how much material we have, as usual. So our holes are that hole, and that hole is 23. So it's 23 and 26. 23, 26. So 27, we'll do the cross. Let's see what that is. We got 65 inches left over. I said that was 40. And then how tall is this? We got 12. We just might make it. The 24. It's always like that too. Curses. So we got roughly 13 and a half. So that means we need 2 12.5 inch. Let's do a little subtraction over here. 2 verticals. And then we just got it. Woohoo. All right. So I'm going to cut this one, which will be that cross member. Shoot, what did I do with the bolts? They were fine thread. I think they're right here. Yep. Cool. All right, no problem. So I said 23 as I recollect. All right, I'm going to cut this one. Take some of this junk off first. Do a quick measure once more and cut off that little tab underneath there. Yeah, I don't even know what that was. Return spring maybe for the brakes. So from outside to outside, just like I said, look more like 26 and a quarter. Inside, inside, yeah, 26 and a quarter. This is 27. So that's 13 and a half on center. 26 and a quarter is 13 and an eighth. There it is. Chuck this in the drill press. Never seen me use this one before, have you?
Mm-mm.
So this is a drill press. You know why? Because it presses the drill. Can you
I
dig
was
it?
kind of assuming that that's what it was doing.
Gotcha. It's not a drill puller, it's a drill press. And I'm going to oversize these holes. That way there's a little wiggle in the jiggle. But yeah, we got 26 and a quarter. And the other ones, I'm assuming are 23 and a quarter, but let's just really get it straight. 23, so on center. Now these are 23 on center. So coming from our mount, it's 11 and a half. Because 11 and 11 is 22 and a half is 23. Hey, look, it's disappearing ink. Look at this. Watch.
Oh, wow. That's
I'm
wild.
frustrating the heck out of myself thinking the markers aren't working. Always something. So we got our center, 27. 13 and a half. We got 23, so it's 11 and a half. Correct. Let's run these through. So I'm going to grab this tube all the way through with a long bolt, whereas the outer ones are just going to be in that area where it's beveled. Be plenty strong. See what I'm saying? One side, two sides. Why? Because I felt like it. All right. Put this in the vise and oversize those holes. Nope, very sharp. I see a lot of people running their drills like really fast, like on number 2, like when you're drilling steel, keep it slow and put force on it. You see how I'm holding this? I'm not just like spinning it. You're cutting the material and you want to keep the drill as cool as possible. So like this, see? Look, I got 1 foot on the ground. I'm just leaning on it. Go slow like that. See how it cuts? No squeaking. If it's squeaking, it's not cutting. So see, as you're coming through the wall, just slow down. I go a little faster because I'm kind of that guy, but it's never squeaking or turning red. Oh, magic bolt pile. Produce that there which we are looking for. Por favor. That's the chant. So you can see there's a little bit of curve in this. So there's typically big rubber grommets that go on here. But for now, I'm just going to use a spacer of some kind. And that'll just hold it temporarily. Let's see what we got for spacers. I just have these steel discs. So I'm just going to use those as a spacer to simulate the rubber baby buggy bumper. That will go under. Cool. Yeah, because the bolts are in here, so it'll just have a big piece of whatever holding it in. So now we got to come vertical from this and hit this. So I'm thinking maybe just for now, to save material, I'm going to shoot a center brace straight back from here to there. And then from that center brace, just one piece right here, just to get all this wood out of the way. So I can get in there and do some real structure. It's all baby steps, you know, just to try to get all this gear out of the way. But this will be the start of the actual body structure. You know, I'll probably come down here like this. I mentioned earlier, maybe an X to really strengthen it. But yeah, it's pretty much a 13-inch body lift. As odd as that seems. All right, good thing is we got a hole in the floor, so I'll be able to reach in there and weld. That's a nice. Because otherwise I'm gonna be creeping around under this thing, cussing and sticking. Yeah, look at that. I can get right in there and see that body mount. Got a bunch of crud as usual. So yeah, from there to there, do a little measuring. Look, it's even got an armhole. Easy access. So from that one to this one, 40 and a quarter. Let's see if I can find a big meat hook underneath this. Oh, I got 40 exact. Yeah, 40-inch slice. I can cut this on the socks. It's just a straight drop. No angle on this one. Somebody said to get a new saw. It's like, come on, I've had this thing for 25 years.
Did they really?
Yeah. It's like, what? It's supposed to have coolant in it. Yeah, I've been running it for 25 years. This is the second blade. I like it. It's my saw. There are many like it, but this one is mine.
Exactly.
Hear how it's missing a tooth? It's been like that for 5 years. Get a new saw. We love our subscribers. Really.
We do. No, there's another builder on YouTube that did a video kind of around the same thing. That he was like annoyed that people were telling him to get new stuff. And he's like, this stuff works just fine. So
Basically.
this thing's gonna go until the wheels fall off.
Literally. And they will. It'll be live here on YouTube when the wheels come off. We're going for the old 40-inch stretch. Might have to do this backwards or run out of steel.
It's so crazy how you repurpose that whole situation.
Steel is not inexpensive nowadays. So let me just preface this entire build with saying that. All right, 40. Can you preface an entire build when you're on episode 18? Inquiring minds want to know. know the saw so well. I can hear when the cut is done. It's like a long-term relationship, me and this saw. All right, this is gonna be fun. You ever see a 52-year-old guy want to go to the chiropractor? It's about to happen. I'm gonna get in here and contort. Wait a second, no, I'm not. I just saw how I'm gonna clip this. I thought I was gonna contort. Now I'm just gonna rest it right there. So, we got our center mark still in place from when we did our other measuring tasks. So I'm just gonna put a little shelf right here and not contort. I'm going to actually weld like a civilized human. It's a first for everything. Oops. All right. So see, I got that little bar just hanging out like a shelf for that tube to land on. Right there. So I can swing in from the inside of the cab. And I'm going to ask Jamie, you see the silver?
Mm-hmm.
When that tube is on the back side of this, centered, you say, let it happen, Cap'n.
Got it.
Cap'n.
And center to that mark that's on the top, right?
Correct.
I got it.
I'll be able to shift it a little bit. You know, it's not down to like milligrams of measurement. Okay, shooting in the dark here. See the shelf. Is it here, right there?
A little over, a little bit to your left. Oh.
My left is the back of the truck. So driver's
go
side.
back over to the passenger side. Oh, a little bit back towards the driver. A little bit more to the driver's side, just a teens.
Okay, hold on. I'm just setting this up. Okay, driver's side.
To the driver's side. Let it happen, Captain.
All right, nailed it.
It's a little teeny off. You could go a smidge towards the driver's side, but just like, yeah. Let it happen, Captain.
Aye, aye. Could be romantic and call you my first mate. Actually looking through a hole in the floor. I've got plenty of access. Wouldn't it be cool if you could see what I was building?
What did you say?
Wouldn't it be cool if you could see what I was building? It's all a mystery what's going on under here. You're just gonna have to take my word for it. It looks awesome. This is how I'm gonna do this weld. Yeah.
You said, yeah.
Access port to the understructure. Perfect. Look at this. Right on mine. Cool. We got that in. Now we do the vertical. If you look through here, see my hand?
Mm-hmm.
So now can you see that?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So we're gonna go from vertical from here up to here.
Ah.
And that's a wrap. And that's a record. Again, this is just the beginning. This is just getting it in place. A cab this big, this high up off the chassis is gonna need considerably more structure. Little mark right there. Little chop and a weld.
I didn't know somebody said to you for you to get a new saw.
They're picking on me on the internet, Jamie. Takes a little while. Still cutting for 25 years. Hear it?
Yep.
That means it's going down the walls. Then it's going to hit the bottom. Hey!
There it is.
I know just what to do with this piece of steel. I'm going to clean it, then I'm going to weld it. See, I always like to try to make these pieces like a nice tap to fit. Because with a root gap, you do potentially offer more shrinkage. But when you're doing something like this, where it's just heavy, fast, to the point, a nice tight fit up like that helps you position things. And it's really not going to shrink or warp.
So now after you get all this in, this metal, you'll be able to take all that wood out?
I'm going to set it on fire.
Sweet.
Maybe not. Maybe I'll just take it up. No, for now I'm going to leave the wood in because it's just being a good additional brace. But I got work tomorrow, so I'm going to get this thing outside and then further this strengthening. But for now, at least it's really attached. It's not going to tip over like it did yesterday.
Did you come in the shop this morning? It was tipped over.
The freaking body rotated backwards, and that spike in the back where the latch is went right into the hole where the thermostat and the engine's supposed to be.
Oops.
The cab fell on the engine, like I mentioned. So thankfully that landed there because it would have crushed the valve covers, I think. So good thing the block was braced up, but it didn't harm anything. It just went boom. It was all crooked.
Oh no.
So one last weld and this show's over for today. Put my arm through the arm access hole that International designed in 1956. All right. As a great man once said, I feel good. Let's see how this baby fits. Ah, yes. Cheeseburger, fries, Diet Coke. Thank you. See you next time.